Welcome to another episode of Living Well. And as you can see, I'm still in Coffs Harbour and I have yet another wonderful friend here, Maarika Braak. And when I was here for a year during lockdown, Maarika hosted many events at her studio called Beyond Yoga for Health. And I don't think you mind me asking you how old you are now, Maarika?
I'm 74.
74, and she's still teaching yoga, dancing, so active, and it's because she just has this passion to give and to share, a very loving woman. So welcome, Maarika, to Living Well.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you, I can see that you live well. I think you've worked things out. You've been able to manage to get your own home, which you use mostly to serve others. I can see you live in one little corner. The rest is all the yoga studio, and practitioners are welcome. And you certainly welcomed me with open arms and gave everything you could give. So what do you do to live well? Maybe starting with the body?
Right. The mind, body and spirit, that's why yoga is so important, because it brings all together. Why do I do yoga? Well, I have many, many difficulties and many, many challenges. Even just coming late in my life to a new country was a huge challenge.
Yeah, where were you from?
South Africa.
Yeah, and what age were you when you moved to Australia to settle here?
I was 55.
Yeah, so it's a mature age to start all over again.
And Iran meant nothing, so I had to start from scratch. But it was not only that, it was many things in my family. My husband fell off a cliff. My son-in-law became a quadriplegic. My mother became bipolar. And that's why I also did yoga, because there were so many shocks to my system, and yoga just made me completely calm and relaxed and at ease.
What kind of yoga? Because there are many schools of yoga.
Well, I think yoga is important for different reasons. It depends on what you want. I do a devotional yoga, and I do Kundalini yoga, and I do very seniors yoga. In other words, I use little props. They call it restorative. Helping people just to sit down. How do you sit? People don't know how to sit. Don't know how to put their shoulders back. Don't know how to put their chin back. Don't know how to stand properly. And of course, don't know how to breathe. The most essential thing in life is to breathe properly. How do we breathe?
So step by step. So first of all, why do you call your center Beyond Yoga for Health?
Because yoga for me is not everything. I need to dance, and that's what keeps me young.
And you were quite a well-known dancer.
Yes.
In South Africa. You travelled.
Yes, I won South African Championship in Modern Ballet in 1966, but it's not about that. It's about the mind. So when you get to a certain age, you have a problem with the mind, as we all know. And I've had ADHD, and I never have taken a single tablet in my life. Only yoga helps me, and Kundalini yoga helps me. And how do I do that? By routines. I'm sure you've all heard of HIIT, high intensity training. And what I do is every week I do a different set. So everybody in the class has to learn new steps. And I use every single kind of dance that there's available, because I've traveled the world and do many, many, many types of dancing. So what I do is every week I give them a challenge, and myself, by remembering and by dancing to the joy of being alive. That's the most important thing for me.
So Beyond Yoga for Health. And you were talking about people not being aware of how to sit, how to stand, how to breathe. Pretty basic things that we do all day long, sitting, standing, breathing. So would you like to share a little bit about that?
Right, now we've got the latest, everybody's got an iPhone or you've got a Samsung, and what do? You lift your head and you actually push your head down to right. So what you're actually doing is 12 kilos you're pulling away from your back. So what you're doing is you're straining your back. So 90% of people when they get older, they get problems with their backs or their hips or their shoulders or their arms without having an accident. And the reason is because we don't sit properly. We're not taught to sit properly. So how do we sit? We have to pull our shoulders up, back, and then relax them and push our chin in.
So Maarika, you were speaking about 3 very core things that we do all day: sitting, standing, and breathing. And it would be really lovely to hear some tips on how to do this better, because we are doing it all day.
Right, let's begin with sitting as I'm sitting here. How do we sit? Well, unfortunately, nowadays with all these phones, we lean forward and we actually put the weight of our head on our shoulders, which weighs 10 kilos. So it puts the back out, it puts the hips out, puts the shoulders out. So basically all we have to do is to sit back, push your shoulders back and drop them down, push your chin in and sit straight. When you do that, you actually gain energy, the sheep we call it. If you don't do that and you slump like this, you're actually taking away energy from your body. How do you bring energy? How do you feel alive every day of your life? How do you wake up to be alive? So you bring that chi to yourself through doing different movements. There's so many ways. I could spend the whole day telling you how, but there are ways. The internet has so many ways how to build energy. That's all we need to do. It comes from source. There's abundance. It's like planting a tree and you have hundreds of oranges. It's the same with us. All we have to do is to tap into that life force, and then abundance forever is with you.
So sitting, standing, how should we stand?
Standing, I can't demonstrate, but
No.
I'll just show you halfway. The same procedure, but what we do is we push the heels down into the ground, and then we pull our thighs up, and then we pull the sternum up, then we put the shoulders back, then we put the chin in, and we actually breathe. How do we breathe? We have so many different breaths for so many different things. You all must have heard of Wim Hof. His breathing technique is the accent on the in-breath. With the Kundalini is detoxing. And what we do is the accents on the out-breath. So we breathe in and we breathe out. So then we pull our stomach in. The yoga breath is opposite to what everybody does. I was a dancer and a sportswoman all my life, and only later in life, when I had all the complications and problems, I started yoga, which saved my life. And so I was starting with a breath. How do we breathe? When you breathe in, you expand your stomach. When you breathe out, you pull your stomach towards your spine. And why do we do that? Because the in-breath is masculine and the out-breath is feminine. The masculine is positive, feminine is negative. So when we breathe out, what we actually do, we detox the body. So there's another short one I'll show you, is a quick breath. And why do we do that? That's completely detoxing the body. So if you have a night out and you have a lot of wine, or you don't eat correctly, or you just don't feel too good, just do a short breath and you'll feel better just by breathing correctly.
So Maarika, you call your studio Beyond Yoga for Health, and I understand that is in relationship to the mind and the spirit. But I also am aware that you very much focus on the health aspects of yoga. Some people, just want to look good, but I know you've been able to treat yourself and others, just as you're saying, breath can do different things. You have different breathing at different times. So how have you healed yourself through yoga?
Well, let's begin, first of all, the mind. Let's begin the mind. My mind was all over the place. Always to get up, and my mind was so overactive, being ADHD. So when I started with yoga and just deep breathing and meditation, the meditation calmed my mind and made me relaxed. And my mind was focused. I couldn't believe that I was the same person. I belong to a group and I help people with ADHD online. And what they're all doing is giving the young children tablets from 3 years old, because they're all over the place and they can't study. So,
which just leads to addiction, right? It's so
That's
dangerous.
Right. So
what a way
correct.
to start your life, with
That's
training in addiction.
That's correct.
Because you can either manage your mind yourself or drug it. So,
That's right. So we begin with the mind. So with yoga, and you actually use the mind with the movement. So every move, you use the mind and the breath. And that you cannot put your mind somewhere else. Your mind will stay calm and relaxed all the time because you're concentrating on that part of the body. For instance, I had severe osteoporosis, and I have proof of that at the age of 40, because we used to eat meat, and our family being from a Greek origin, and lots of spaghettis and pastas and things like that, and the combination made my body very acidic. So I had to change to vegetables and fruit, and that helped my osteoporosis. And then I had a very bad fall.
So you were speaking about the osteoporosis.
Yes, I had severe osteoporosis at 40 on my right hip. And the reason being that I had an acidic diet. I ate a lot of meat and I had a lot of starches. So my body was not alkaline, which needs to be in balance. So what happened was I healed that through exercise, through my yoga, and through a correct diet. Mostly my food is to eat vegetarian. Now and again I do eat out, and I do celebrate with family, and I do enjoy some wine and some whatever with family and friends. But basically 90% of my life is vegetables and fruit, mostly vegetable. And that's changed my whole life, my skin, my body, my mind, and my spirit. Why is that?
Well, I just find it really amazing that, I had heard from you before that you live with ADHD, but I can't pick it up at all. So obviously what you're doing is really working. Really, really working.
And then we'll get to not only the diet, it's the spirit, which is for me the most important.
Yeah, and how you manage your mind, because when I go to your house, it's so calm and, well, it's not even your house, it feels more like a yoga studio, but when I go there, it's so calm, everything's orderly, you are very present. So it's not what people think of when they think of ADHD. So obviously there are definitely ways to manage it, and you've just shared many of the things you do to manage your life. Anything else?
Creativity.
Yes.
Creativity is so important. If I wasn't creative, I would feel very depressed and feel alone. I've had so many traumas and lost so many of my friends and family. And for me, if I do something creative, it gives me life force, it gives me enjoyment, and I give it to everybody that comes in my presence, because I make my life creative. If it's not with the food, it's with the dancing. If it's not with the dancing, it's just ideas for my friends, what to do and how to live their lives, and share and give them hope that doesn't matter what you have, because I've met so many beautiful people that have really suffered, and they're really the most wonderful people that I've ever met, because from suffering becomes the joy of life, because you really know what it feels like on the other side, that you appreciate every moment of the day. When you wake up, you say, this is the best day of my life.
And talk about creativity. You've organised some event coming up at the end of the July in Coffs Harbour. I think you've had to pull together a lot of different practitioners to share with the community. But you're the organiser?
We all contribute.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
When we do something, we do it together.
So that's another way to manage, isn't it? Not to try and do it all alone, because everyone's got their skills.
That's right.
Yeah.
We don't, nobody's anybody. We just all contribute into the pool, and it flows with the right people and the right mind.
Yeah.
When people have got the same vibration of wanting to uplift one another, when you want to uplift yourself and you want to help and you want to give, then it all flows.
So what will you be doing on that day?
I will just be explaining a bit of yoga. But we have different groups doing different things, and there's things going on all the time at my place. People phone me all the time and say, can I use your place for this or that? And my home is used for that. It's
so if people are passing through Coffs Harbour who have something beautiful to share, not for profit, because I know that even you just cover your costs really with what you're charging. So they would be welcome to contact you?
Always. And the reason why I do that is because the more you give, I believe, is the more you receive in different ways.
So you can contact Maarika through Beyond Yoga and the number 4, Health. Beyond Yoga for Health. She's got a Facebook page, so yeah, that's because her home is so open, her heart is so open, and I think you enjoy meeting beautiful people.
Like yourself. Like yourself.
And you. Yeah. So I think you're such a model, which is why when I was coming to Coffs Harbour, I thought, I have to get Maarika into this living well, because you're really an example of living well. You manage with your daughter, your grandchildren, you still help with your son-in-law who's paraplegic, and you're just there for people. And these weekly classes has created a beautiful community, so people have a place to go, and especially during these times of COVID, because people have been locked down and don't know how to connect, and there's a lot more stress. So thank you so much for all that you do. And I would just ask you to close this session with some breathing. If you could guide us in some breathing.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else you'd like to say.
Okay, let's talk. Well, what about spirit?
Spirit, yes.
Well, and this is what the most important, as I was saying, is our spiritual life. And whatever belief you believe in doesn't matter. There's no judgment on anything. It's about finding your own path. Like Maureen's found hers, I found mine. But that's all you need to do, is actually find something that really works for you and really tap into that. It's like the ocean. When you go on a boat, all you see is the sea. But when you dig deep down, you see an absolute wonderful world that you cannot describe. All the beautiful things that happen under the sea. And it's the same with us. Once you start tapping in and finding something that you really believe in, you start tapping into the most magnificent understanding of the human body, mind, and spirit.
Would you say that underpins everything else? Because I know for my life, I draw on many different things, but having found my practice and really dedicating to my practice gives me the base that's very centered and very nurturing as well.
That's it. For me, without that life, there's no life. So find your path, find a way, and there's always help. Whatever you want to do in life, you just need to reach out, and there's always people there for you.
people and the higher power, God.
Of course.
What name do you use for that source?
I use cosmic consciousness.
Cosmic consciousness, yeah.
Yes. Consciousness for me is what God is.
So can you just share one experience of that? Because I'm sure you've got many.
Well, I had dreams where to go and what to do, and I use dowsing sticks sometimes, because sometimes my mind gets mixed up with my heart. So like that, I do beautiful deep breathing. I'll show you one or two, and then after that, I just douse with sticks and ask for guidance, because for me, the guidance is there on a higher level. When you put your mind into it, you lose it. So you have to deep breathe and let go of this outer world and go in the inner world and find that deep guidance within yourself.
Yeah, they say let go, let God. As however you understand God,
Yes.
but let go, let God.
Yes.
The Spirit
Yeah.
guide it. Beautiful.
So when you're a child, I'll just give you a few examples. When you're a child and you get a shock, you go like that, don't you? So if something happens to your family or something happens outside in the world, terrible things that happen, all you need to do is do that, breathe. And then just relax. So you take 4 breaths in. And then just let go. Immediately feel better. Another breath for Alzheimer's, because that's so important now as we age. I say sage, not age. And what we do is we use our fingers. In your hand you've got points that reflect to different parts of the body. So we say that's J, Sam. To the universe, Jupiter, Saturn, Apollo, and Mercury. So when you press these different fingers, they relate to different parts of the body. So we say Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. And we do that for 3 minutes with a vocal voice. So let me do it with you just once. Start with the baby. Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Then we do that for 3 minutes, and then you do it whispering. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Right. Then you say to the goddess or the god within yourself, talk, and you go within and you do it. Then you come out and you whisper again, Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. And you do that for 3 minutes again, and then you do it loud. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Right, that's why we use our fingers. That's why you'll see all the Indian gurus using fingers, because they relate to different parts of the body. And voice, the vocal voice is so important, because if you don't use your voice, when you get older, you go, hello, hello. So you have to use your voice. And also song. We've got this vagus nerve, that most of the illnesses come from the vagus nerve being out. So basic knowledge of your vagus nerve, all you have to do is keep your head still and just move your eyes to the right for 30 seconds. And then you move it to the left for 30 seconds. And what happens then, you'll find that the whole body actually changes. It's the most phenomenal thing. So when you're feeling stressed with all this COVID and all the time seeing the jabs and feeling you're going to get ill and something's going to happen to you when you're walking in the streets, just work with the vagus nerve. Have cold showers in the morning and brush your body. It's another way to work with the vagus nerve. Sing is another way. So what is the difference between the one and the other side? The one gives you rest and digest and calms you down. And the other one, other side of you, is flight or fight. So that's what the vagus nerve teaches you, to actually calm down and relax.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing and very simple. You know, like it's interesting that when we are frightened, we go, and it's natural, it's helpful. So you do it consciously. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maarika, for sparing your time, because I know you're so busy with this event on 23rd of July, is it?
No, 31st.
31st of July.
There's many
31st
things
of
on.
July.
Yes.
Yeah, but go to the Facebook. You'll find many wonderful things that Maarika does.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. See you next time.